Yo, what up, y'all? Welcome back. Nick Underhill on the JimsFirearm.net hotline. Nick, of course, from New Orleans on Football. And you should sign up for New Orleans on Football, not only because this ain't no, corporate BS. That sign up goes directly to Nick and to support the work that he does. But the work that he does is incredible. And we use it all the time on this show. Nick, what's up, dude?
We also love corporate BS, though, so we don't want to alienate anybody here.
yes. So if any corporation you want to get it for your office or something, absolutely go sign up for New Orleans on Football. Nick, earlier we combined some simulations that you ran, some simulations that Larry Holder ran to try to get a clear picture of the Saints picking at 28. And to me, you ran 100 draft simulations looking at cornerback specifically, kind of see the range on a lot of these guys. It felt like to me, do the Saints exist in a bit of a cornerback no man's land at 28?
Actually, after I did it, I felt a little bit more optimistic about the possibility of them getting some different people. And obviously, these draft simulations aren't scientific, and all it takes is for someone to fall in love with Mitch Trubisky and trade up for him to throw the whole entire draft out of whack. So, I mean, you can't really prepare for everything, but if you do 100 simulations, you get a lot of variances, and I think it eliminates some of that small sample size, and it takes in for a lot of those crazy things. So you start to see how it looks. But I didn't think they would really have a shot at like Greg Newsome or Caleb Farley or Melifonwu. Like, I kind of felt like there was a chance those guys would get picked ahead of them, or it'd be hard to get them. And after doing this, it seems like there should be at least some hope that one of those guys are going to be there, especially Newsome and Farley. I think Melifonwu would maybe not be the greatest pick at 28, but you could probably live with it if you were forced to go that way, seeing that, things start to drop out, and then all of a sudden you're Eric Stokes and Asante Samuel, who's pretty good, but I don't think he's the greatest fit for the Saints because they play a lot of man. He's more of a zone corner. But, yeah, I don't know if I agree with that no man's land. I think that there's a chance they get somebody, but obviously all it takes is one team to get aggressive about a cornerback and everything's out of whack.
So then is it accurate that after you get past the Farley, Newsome, maybe Les Melifonwu, like after you get past them, though, is it kind of an awkward – are you overreaching for any other name on that list if you don't try to wait till 60?
I think once you get past those guys, you're probably in trouble a little bit. I mean, even at 28, like I think you're okay with those guys. Like Farley will probably be good if he's healthy. I think Newsome needs some time to kind of develop a little bit. Look, I mean, if you're picking at 28 and you're taking a cornerback, like obviously there's a Trey White out there, and there's a handful of guys that, kind of buck what I'm about to say, and they're the exceptions to it. But if you're picking a cornerback at 28, you're picking a QB at 28, you're picking a pass rusher at 28, like those guys are like your second round, third round players at other positions just because they get so overdrafted and they're so valued. So if you're picking a cornerback at 28, there's going to be some type of flaw that you're going to have to hope you can iron out really quickly so he's a solid starter right away. But then if you're picking one at 60, I mean, it's a total gamble. You're taking someone and hoping that everything around him, works out. I think the Saints could take some of the guys, in that range, like a Kelvin Joseph, he's a good, man corner. The zone stuff needs some work. They got the depth in the secondary around them to maybe hide some of that stuff. You can get creative with your coverages, and try to hide it a little bit, but then you're limited in what you can do. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking for the savior, it's going to be tough to find that player at 28 and have it happen right away. The other thing is they got 2 third-round picks. Somebody starts to slip a little bit, you can package people together, move up, maybe get around that 15 range and get one of those guys that can make an instant impact. But you got to pray and hope, someone falls down the board a little bit for that to be your strategy.
All right, Nick, one of the names that we probably see the most attached to the Saints is Zaven Collins, a linebacker from Tulsa. And when you look at his build, obviously he's not your typical middle linebacker. So what role do you think he would play with the Saints if that was a selection?
Yeah, so I have some insight into how they do their prototypes. He's actually a little bit slow to fit their prototype.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean they wouldn't take him. Mike Thomas, he didn't fit their speed prototype either, and that worked out really well. I think he's interesting. I think he makes a lot of plays. I think he could fit into this team. The one thing about him, though, is I don't think he really has that sideline-to-sideline range, which, I think, you saw when they got Quan, that kind of changed their defense last year. I don't know if he can do all that. But he does make a lot of plays. He can do a lot of different things. You know, he's kind of like a slower Jamie Collins in some respects, that you can put him everywhere and he can do a lot of different things pretty well and be impactful in a number of ways. And they did want to get Jamie Collins. Michael Hodges, the linebackers coach, was campaigning for him to be part of the team. And, you know, he got overpaid by Detroit, and, you know, they obviously didn't end up with him. But, you know, they do have a type of vision for that player, and I think he could come in and do a lot of different things. But they would have to make some, you know, exceptions in their prototyping to get him on the team and you know, draft him. But I could see it happen for sure. And he would be an exciting player. He could do a lot for him.
Talking to Nick Underhill at Nick_Underhill on Twitter. New Orleans on Football is the site. Trust me, y'all need to sign up for it. It's so freaking good if you're a Saints fan. Okay, so outside of defensive names, Nick, in rounds 1 and 2, the Larry Holder simulation for Pro Football Network, where he did 50 first 3-round simulations, some interesting names popped up. I don't think this makes any sense, but like Travis Etienne was right behind Collins in terms of picks, or a couple behind him. He got picked 6 out of the 50. Terrace Marshall was on that list in round 1. And then the main name picked in round 2 was Elijah Moore. Do you have any names for you on the offensive side of the ball that you think the Saints are potentially targeting?
You know, I'm not sure about targets, but look, I mean, one of the things that they've done since Jeff Ireland came in is there's this thing called relative athletic score. And it's just basically a math equation that takes height, weight, speed, a lot of the combine workout measurables, and it puts them into, you know, a one digestible number scale, 1 to 10. Since Ireland's came here, every first-round pick they've taken, save for Sheldon Rankins, who scored an 8.5, has been a 9 or higher. And
okay.
Look, you hear that and you're like, oh, everybody's a good athlete in the first round. Well, actually, every year, only about 14 or 15 of these guys with a score of 9 or higher get picked in the first round. So that's the Saints, what they look at, you know, and again, anything can change, but this is their pattern. So if you want to look at what they've done throughout history, and it's been enough drafts now where you can start to get a picture of his types. I'm going to mess up the last name. You just said it. The Clemson running back is one of those guys that fits that. So he'd be one of the offensive guys that fits that. Kadarius Toney is another one who's a 9 that would be available in that range.
Yep.
And then, you know, it's a lot of guys that would go higher. Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase, Samuel Cosme. And then there's a lot of defensive guys, too, that would fit the bill for them in that range. But offensively, those are the 2 guys that you could probably expect to be available in that range to fit. And look, I know, like, running back seems maybe a little bit outrageous. Like, you know, they got Alvin, they got Latavius Murray, and they seem pretty set there at that position. But if you go back to how Alvin was used as a rookie, he played a lot more in the slot his rookie year and was a little bit more dynamic in his playmaking. There is a lack of talent at wide receiver right now, or at least a lack of depth. And I'm not sure you have, like, a clear-cut, like, you know, slot guy. So there's probably 30, 40 snaps you could probably give to Alvin above what he did last season that would get him back around that range he was at as a rookie, and he becomes a little bit more of a dynamic playmaker. And if you have another legitimate running back that you could put in the backfield, you know, you could maybe move on from Latavius' salary, or you could just wait a year and have your replacement there. And now Alvin becomes a more dynamic playmaker. And if Alvin's in the slot and you have a legitimate runner in the backfield, the way you're getting defended, you're going to have an advantage one way or the other. They're going to have a light box, or they're going to have the wrong matchup on Alvin. And, you know, he broke 20 tackles just on receiving plays last year. And he wasn't running a lot of, you know, routes out into the second level, out into space. It was a lot of screens, and you're catching bigger guys up front. Like, you get him out into space and the safety's trying to tackle him, like, what's going to happen? I think you could get a lot of advantages, and they could become a little bit more creative maybe if he doesn't have to remain so close to the quarterback, because he was the safety net for Breeze. So if you're sending them down the field and very quickly, first, second read's done, you know, Breeze had to get the ball out to Alvin right away. I don't think you have to approach it the same way, so that could open up your offense a little bit.
All right, Nick, a question that a lot of Saints fans have asked over the last couple of drafts. Will they select a quarterback? And if they do, when do you think that could happen?
I think they should, and any opportunity they have to do it, I think you got to do it. You know, it's kind of the Bill Walsh way of thinking, is take a quarterback every year, even when you have one. And if, you know, they don't work out, who cares? If you have one, you're bringing someone up that could potentially be in the pipeline. And if that player ends up leaving in today's NFL, they leave, they go play somewhere else, you're getting the draft pick back for them. So I think it's always smart, like every year, every couple of years to be taking one, but especially right now, any chance you got, I think they got to pull the trigger.
What about Davis Mills in round 3? Thoughts there, real quick. Got about a minute.
I'm good with always taking good players, get them in, find a way to work them. So if Davis Mills is your guy and you're vouching for him, I wasn't with you on Mitch Trubisky, but I'll be with you on Davis Mills.
Okay.
Nobody
there
was.
We go, dude.
Nick, he was on an island by himself.
Yeah. Look, exactly. Like
that's why
the
he
great
signed as a
thinkers
backup
of old. Even Socrates. Didn't Socrates literally have to kill himself because his takes were too hot? It was either that or be exiled. Okay. Well, hey, just try to be Socratic up here on the radio every morning. Nick, you have a great morning, my friend.
Yeah, you guys as well.
All right, that is Nick Underhill at Nick_Underhill on Twitter. The best. Sign up for New Orleans on Football. Ask the Bench, brought to you by Cold Delicious Coors. Coming up next here on OCD.